Hello, everybody. This is a male space, and today I have with me Chris Colucci. And today we're going to be discussing fitness and nutrition for men. Chris, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. Glad we have a chance to talk for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am and was a personal trainer. I'm a fitness writer, fitness editor. Started way back in like junior high, got involved in martial arts. Eventually that led to being certified through the ISSA as a personal trainer. I worked in gyms, training clients for about 10 years or so. I worked at Testosterone Nation, tnation.com, which is where we met up and connected. Because funny enough, on the World Wide Web, we found out we're local. So,
Yes.
so worked at T Nation for a bunch of years, editing articles from strength coaches, interviewing bodybuilders, things like that. I worked at breakingmuscle.com as an editor there, and now I'm basically writing and editing freelance. I've written for Men's Fitness, Men's Journal, things like that.
Oh,
Uh, so yeah, that's a start.
oh, great. So, yes, I know that you have a wide variety of knowledge in nutrition and fitness protocols. I want to go address this also is that, obesity and overweight it both are an epidemic now in our country. The stats that I've read is that 32% of men in the US say are obese and 40% are overweight. So I'd like to go over what do you see as the common impediments to people getting on a fitness regimen and sticking to it? Because what I've noticed, and we're going to get into this, what I think is just to remind the audience again, I'm a registered dietitian, so I work in nutrition. I also have experience as a bodybuilder. So um, my I'm convinced that the major problem right now is simply a matter of discipline and consistency. Do you think that's the biggest problem?
I think it could be. Yeah, maybe. I think it's a lifestyle. It's people's lifestyle. It's cultural lifestyle. So that certainly ties into the ability to be consistent. I think discipline might be more of an individual case by case basis. Like I think people who want to get fit will find the self discipline to get fit. So I think it might not necessarily be something that all people have. But in terms of consistency, that's absolutely has to be an underlying theme. Um, because if you work 40, 50 hours a week and you're overweight and you're like, I hate being overweight, my knees hurt, whatever, I got blood pressure issues, want to start working out, you have to figure out a plan that works for your lifestyle. You shouldn't, you might try, you shouldn't be like, I'm gonna hit the gym Monday to Saturday. I'm gonna open up Flex magazine isn't a thing anymore. I'm gonna find
Yes.
bodybuilder your routine. I'm gonna train like a bodybuilder, hardcore. I'm gonna join a CrossFit gym. Like that's not if that doesn't fit your lifestyle, it's not gonna work because you're not gonna stick with it. So I think consistency, yes, but I think that also very much ties into your lifestyle and just the pace of life. Like time flies nowadays, man. So it's like everybody's busy doing stuff. So adding I want to go to the gym and I'm going to meal prep to an already busy lifestyle is tricky. You have to figure out how to make it work.
Yes, I totally agree with you because even keeping in shape myself these days, I usually hit the gym at 5 a.m. These days, being that I have a family, I have two children, and all these things to do and activities on the weekends, that this does take some brain power and planning, meaning that this day and age where we don't live lifestyles, most of us do not live lifestyles of housewives preparing food for the family all day while the man is out to work. We live in a world where both parents are usually working, and really the what I've been stressing to people, my patients also, is that if the food is not prepared or bought in advance, likely that is going to be the cause of the entire downfall of the diet. If there's no food available, the person is inclined to make the wrong choices or make no choice at all and skip meals. So I think that this has to be almost when someone embarks on a fitness journey and incorporating these good habits that they want to make a lifestyle for the rest of their lives, that this is almost like a part-time job. And I don't mean a part-time job where the actual hours are adding up to 10 to 20 hours per week. I mean almost like a part-time job in your head, being cognizant of the right food choices, being cognizant of what days you're going to go to the gym during the week, being cognizant that I have to meal prep large amounts of meat, starches, and vegetables on a Sunday and a Wednesday, or else everything is going to fall apart. Is that what you're getting at?
I think so. I think it's knowing what to do and setting yourself up for success, kind of basically. Like every supermarket now has like those pre-cut, pre-packaged vegetables, in like the little pound or half pound container. So that you don't have to chop vegetables. You just have to make the decision to when I go food shopping, I'm going to grab those. You need to make the better decisions like consistently. And like I said, it has to be something that you're going to stick with. Tony Gentilcore, who's a strength coach up in Boston, talked about having a program he called the 352 program. Work out 3 days a week for 52 weeks, and you will transform yourself. You don't have to train 5 or 6 days a week, right? So if you can stick with it, 3 days a week doesn't sound like a lot, but you can do huge changes with a little bit of work and effort and consistency. Just drill it in, right? But it requires, like you said, a conscious decision day to day. Yeah.
Yes, I think that some men underestimate that. I do believe that it is very difficult to work fitness and nutrition to one's lifestyle these days, like we've been saying. But also, I've noticed that some people, and I've noticed this in many of the men that I speak to, that they have this all or nothing mindset.
Mhm.
Have you encountered that, in which this all or nothing mindset, which if someone misses a workout or two during the week, they decide that they're not going to work out at all that week, and then a week becomes a few weeks, and then that turns into months, and then it turns into a year or more sometimes. This and I have to remind people also that if you miss a workout, that does not mean that you cannot pick up and go to the gym literally the next day and start working out again. That's what I do when I miss a workout.
Yeah, I mean that's huge. Yes, that's very common. I saw it when I was working with clients as a trainer. Because people think they need to be perfect right off the bat, and very few people are, especially right off the bat.
Yes.
So, um, you know, again, it comes back to do what you're going to do over and over again. And if you screw up, admit you screwed up, try not to do it again. You do that with everything. If you have a bad day at work, you don't quit on your way out. You don't have that luxury.
Yes, exactly.
So if you cheat on your diet, which is a real term, I believe you can cheat on your diet. Like some people think that you can't call it cheating. Nobody can cheat. There's no cheat meals, and no, you can cheat on a diet, and you shouldn't, but that's what we call it. So if you cheat on your diet, don't say fuck it, I'm gonna have nachos for breakfast. Like you're like, oh, okay, yeah, so I can't hit the drive-through. I shouldn't have hit the drive-through. I'll do better next time. You know,
Yes, yeah, I agree with that also, because I tell people also that I don't expect anyone, even myself, to have 100% consistency. I also want to so-called live my life. If I go to a party and splurge a little bit, or eat something off of my menu, or have
Mhm.
an alcoholic beverage, I don't even know if I could consider this cheating almost. I mean, this is just living your life. I mean, you go to a party, you eat some off the normal menu that we would consider off the menu foods that we considered a cheat meal, but that's just part of living your life and having fun. I don't think people should deprive themselves of good
Right,
times or consider that cheating, or the next day they should spend the entire Sunday after a night out having fun overeating on Sunday. You just pick up where
right.
you left off and that's it.
No,
And
exactly. Yeah.
yes, and also I'm going to agree with you also that there does come a time for tough love with dieting. Also, meaning that, to me, I don't think there's any excuses now. Uh, there's an excuse for time. I think, look, it's very difficult. If someone, let's just running short on time, they're so busy, they have a part-time job, they have a full-time job, they have school, then I understand why they cannot do a large amount of physical activity. But as far as choosing the right foods in this day and age, with the kind of fast food that we have available today from places like Moe's Grill or Chipotle or a deli or anywhere else where we have, let's say, the available meats and starches and vegetables, on hand, or even going to a grocery store. For example, the King Cullen near here, they have packages of already prepared grilled chicken, as you were saying before, with the already prepared vegetables. That where can you go now where you cannot get a so-called bodybuilder meal? There's no excuse at this point. What do you think?
Well, there never was an excuse. It was just harder. It's much, much easier to make the right decision now. Like one of my I enjoy watching they're called shoot interviews with like behind the scenes interviews with like pro wrestlers from back in the day. So you'll hear stories from guys from the 1980s, bodybuilders on the road, and they would, when they're driving from town to town in their car, they would stop at McDonald's and get the fried chicken sandwich and just not eat the buns. Or they would get like the double quarter pounders and just not eat the buns. So they did the best they could do. It
Yes,
was not great at all. It was not optimal, but it was the best bed decision. And
yes,
like you said, nowadays there are best good decisions. You can hit a Chick-fil-A if you want. You can get a grilled chicken sandwich most places. If you go to a gas station, you can get beef jerky, you can get protein bars, you can get a muscle milk RTD. You don't have to get a Mountain Dew and a Mars bar or a Snickers bar.
yes. And they already have prepared hard-boiled eggs, Greek yogurt,
Yes,
cottage cheese,
yes,
the little packs of what is that, Blue Diamond nuts. They
yeah,
have apples, portable fruits.
yeah. This was not around 15 years ago, 20 years, like whatever. So there are fewer and fewer excuses and reasons to make poor nutritional decisions. Once you've decided, I want to get in shape, I want to lose some fat, or I want to build some muscle, or I want to just eat better. When you make that decision, it's much easier when you're out and about. You just have to remember that you've made that decision. And that's where if you pull in to fill up your car and you pop in to look at food, you can either get hard-boiled eggs and a pack of almonds, or you can get the mystery meat hot dog on the roller.
Yes,
One is a better decision than the other. And that's where it comes back to self-discipline, like you said, right?
yes, I agree with that also. And also, I think that also people do not hold back at events. For example, if you look at how people eat, and again, I'm going to go back to people that I've dealt with personally. When you mention certain events to them, let's say a barbecue, a wedding, I mean, we've seen the way people eat at weddings. They eat like they're going to the chair. I mean,
Mhm.
people eat in this fashion where they have like actual little mountains of food on their plates, and they feel this compulsion to sample literally everything. Now, one could say, okay, that's one event. But my view is this, is that when the holidays come around in October, like they are now, I consider Halloween to New Year's Eve one nonstop holiday for for yeah, 2 months, a 2 month stretch where it's a never ending holiday where becomes we're closer to Halloween. The junk food starts piling up in the workplace, in the offices, or wherever you are. Then the Christmas comes along, or whatever religion you're following at the time. These events come along, and the food is all over the place, and people have do lose discipline. Now, people might think, well, oh, this is one holiday season, but if you pack on this holiday season year after year, do you think that makes a difference? Because I think that makes a difference. These stretches of overeating do add up over time, I believe.
It does. It's funny you brought that up with the holiday season. One of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite coaches, Alan Cosgrove, who's based out in California, of Results Fitness. He has said, and I love it, it's how you eat from Thanksgiving to New Year's matters less than how you eat from New Year's to Thanksgiving.
Yes,
Okay, so if you have Halloween makes sense. My birthday's around Halloween, so let's even push it to Halloween. How you eat from Halloween to Christmas, to whatever. So if you eat well and you pay attention and you hit your macros and your protein and your train from January 1st to October 20th, and you're relatively consistent, it's not a permission slip to piss off for 2.5 months, but that should not be your focus, right? That little stretch of time, this holiday season, like Fourth of July barbecues, also. If you indulge with your friends and family, like this also ties back to, like we said, it's culture, it's lifestyle. We're social people. If we go to a social event once every couple of months, like I haven't seen you in quite a while, but if we hang out, like we're going to enjoy, we might have a nice bourbon, we might have some burgers and hot dogs on the grill. Okay, and that's fine. There is nothing wrong with that. You're enjoying community, you're enjoying a shared meal with people that you connect with. Okay, the macros about that meal don't really matter, right? That's not the focus. But you need to make sure those are few and far between, right? You don't have the brownies at the office just because they're there, right? If it's different, you know.
Yeah, I understand. Yes. And yeah, I agree with all you said there. And now let's go over some routine guidelines because what I also have observed, and probably you observed, is that when people want to get in shape, they sometimes, I think oftentimes, immediately throw themselves into these unrealistic, unsustainable body part bro splits. Now, let's just make this clear. There's nothing inherently wrong with a bro split. You know, we're not part of that crowd that says, oh, bro splits are a thing of the past, or bro splits only came about when people started doing roids. And this is the only reason why they were working because you and I know that there are natural bodybuilders, some of them pro natural bodybuilders who do follow a bro split and they do it effectively. But I do not think that the bro split is realistic for people who have so-called lives. Now, I use that term, but I don't think it's kind of a disparaging term, I guess, because if even if someone, let's say, does not have that many obligations, they still have a life, so to speak. But when we use that kind of term, we're probably thinking of the average man who's bound up in obligations and
Right, right.
he does not want to make the gym his foremost priority, and he has 45 to 75 minutes to train before work or the same time available after. He does not want to be jammed up in the gym after work when he has other things to do or just simply wants to do. So do you, I always say that when people look at the Instagram influencers or the fitness writers or people who are bodybuilders, to take what they say with a grain of salt and look at other routines that are more manageable and sustainable for years to come. What do you think of that?
I think yes. I think there's a couple of layers to it. It's funny because I post on Threads a lot because Twitter's not my thing. So I'm on Threads, and yesterday on Threads somebody posted just a random comment like, "Hey, does anybody else not know what to do with themselves on a rest day? Don't you just go crazy?" And a bunch of posts are like, "Yeah, I can't wait. Oh, I dream of the gym." And I replied, "No, because I have other responsibilities and priorities. Like I train like 3 days a week, like in my garage or I head out to a gym. But on days I don't work out, I I don't miss not working out because I got other stuff to do,
Yes,
right? So, like, yes, a body part split where you're training one or maybe two body parts per workout. First of all, that requires that you go to the gym at least 5 days a week. So if that doesn't fit your schedule, it's not an option. It shouldn't be an option.
yes,
You're not gonna hit the gym 5 days every week. You should not do a body part split right off the bat.
yes. I agree with you.
Right. That which is why it is effective for people like bodybuilders, competitive bodybuilders, or fitness influencers whose profession hinges on their physique. Actors also like actors known for their bodies. I would bet train a body part split or something like that. Because they prioritize that time. They allot every day. I got to hit the gym. For people who again have an office job or whatever work 40, 50 hours a week, you can't always guarantee you'll hit the gym, even if it's 5 in the morning before sunrise, which I've done. It's not fun, but it's doable. So yes, so I always like when I work with a client, how many days can you realistically make it to the gym? I would only ask for 2 to 4, 4 tops. Okay, that would be like a luxury. 2 or 3 days of well-planned training can be very beneficial. You can see some physique changes. You can see performance benefits, right? So, and again, that ties back to your goal. Do you want to lose fat? Do you want to build muscle? Do you want to get stronger? Do you want to bench 250, 300, whatever's. So your goal will also influence how you should train, how you should set up your training.
Yes. Exactly. And I mean, also with the activity that's added on to us to whatever split someone's doing, most people do not have gyms in their home. So the travel time to the gym takes time also. However, they could fill in the other days with other activity that does not require going to the gym. I mean, it does require going to the gym to lift weights for most people, but the other added activity, let's say going up the block to the park to play ball games or being active with one's friends or children or family members, does not require going to a gym. You could walk up the block to the park near your house, or you could just simply step outside and start walking or jogging or doing a bike ride. So that added time, that pressure of whatever traffic you have to deal with and traveling is not there for the other activity. So when we say 2 to 3 times of training, do you not mean, or do you mean only 2 to 3 days of activity, or only
Oh
for the
no,
weight
no.
training? Yes.
Oh no, no. I was specifically referring to 2 or 3 days of resistance training. I should clarify. That was my
That's
mistake.
right. That's right.
So 2 or 3 days of activity is not going to do a lot. If you're only moving your body 2 or 3 days a week, don't expect much, right? You need to be active, general physical activity. I got yelled at online on Threads actually because I said and I believe that for most people, walking is not exercise unless you're unless you're deconditioned, out of shape. If walking, just walking around the block, walking for half a mile, whatever, if that's challenging, that's exercise. That's an exercise stimulus. Otherwise, walking is general physical activity, which is beneficial, right? You get benefit from walking. I'm not saying it's useless by any means. It's hugely beneficial, but it's physical activity, just like gardening, just like doing an online yoga class or a Tai Chi class, if you can find one somewhere. Okay, being physically active most days of the week, so 4 or 5 days at least. Like you said, going to play ball, going to chase your kids around the playground, whatever you want to do. But what I initially meant was 2 or 3 days of resistance training, complemented with another 2 or 3 days of like some kind of cardio activity or just moving your body somehow. Right.
Yes, that's what I think is holds true also, because generally speaking, people who do at least 5 hours of intense physical activity, yeah,
Yep.
as long as you fill in the 5 hours, whether it's weight training or other intense activity, people who do 5 hours of activity per week are usually the most satisfied with their body compositions. So
Well, and the health benefits, like the research shows, I think it's 5 or maybe 7 hours, that a slew of health benefits kick in when you hit that mark. So whether that's getting your 10,000 steps a day or 70,000 steps a week, however you want to break it down. Some people want to do a weekly tally, or whether it's playing a pickup game of hoops or adult kickball or whatever. Yeah, 5 hours for the health benefits and the physique benefits for sure.
yes, and also I just want to touch upon also something that Lyle McDonald said. I don't know if it's a direct quote, but he did say something in regards to, I think it would relate to what you said about these people who have this kind of anxious feeling when they have a day off from the gym, that they don't know what to do with themselves. Well, just going to the gym for the sake of going to the gym does not always offer more benefits anyway, meaning that you don't necessarily see more benefits in strength and body composition going to the gym 6 days versus 5 days. And in
Right.
some cases, it might not even be more beneficial, depending on the routine, to go 5 days versus 4 days. There are times where the rest day will do more good than actually going to the gym and just piling on all this volume of intense physical activity. So I think what Lyle McDonald said to that is that what's psychologically desirable is not always physically effective. Just because something feels good doesn't mean your physiology obeys this. Meaning that I feel good, therefore this is going to work. Meaning that
Well,
it's
yeah.
yeah. Meaning that, for example, some people could say, well, the pump feels good. Well, what feels good does not mean that you're going to get a result from it. So I think that applies there also. So, and I want to touch upon the fact that there have been many bodybuilders from the past and even the current days who do not follow a body part split. For example, Dante Trudell with his DC training, that was a torso and limb split. and or let's say it kind of looks like an upper lower, but I guess if you just do the biceps on the leg day, whether we call it torso limbs or upper lower split, there's only I think there's like one exercise that if you added on the biceps to the other day, then you would have an upper lower. So whatever.
Technicality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, or Lyle McDonald's general bulking routine is an upper lower split. There were bodybuilders in the past who followed a full body split, well, full body routine, not really a split, where it was, let's say, heavy, medium, light,
Mhm.
and they
Well, that's
were,
classic 5x5. A
yes,
5x5 workout is a full body workout.
exactly. So, do you think that the body part split really does offer that many more benefits than the other routines I just said? Because I don't think it really. I mean, unless we split hairs here and say, well, the guy's rear delts are not up to par, or your lower lats. I mean, maybe like these little portions of muscle that might come out from the
Right.
body part split. But do you really think that? I don't think it offers that many more benefits. What do you think?
Not, not, no. Um,
Right.
yeah, no, a body part split doesn't really offer drastic benefits over a full body or an upper lower or even push pull legs. Push pull legs, by the way, is just chest, shoulders, tries, back and bis and legs. So you can reframe push pull legs as a body part, focus.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, a one or two body parts per day, which we're calling body part split, is isn't significantly better than full body or upper lower splits because not because, but supported by there are so many athletes with amazing physiques that train full body or upper lower. So anecdotally, like look at any in shape CrossFit athlete, any in shape Olympic weightlifter, any relatively lean power lifter, right? These incredible, desirable, aesthetic-ish physiques
Yes.
do not need to be built with one or two body parts a day.
Yes,
So,
you're right. Because if you look at even some of the popular programs, let's say 531 for, well, I wouldn't call 531. I've not ever been involved in powerlifting, but from my knowledge, some people would call it, let's say, a general strength routine. I know there's, let's say, some tweaks to it where it's used for powerlifting, but that's an upper lower split.
yeah,
The conjugate method from West Side Barbell, that's a upper lower split.
the
So
old 20 rep squat routine where you do 20,
yes,
that's a full body routine. That's
yeah,
full
that
body
that
every day.
exactly.
2 days a week, maybe 3 days a week, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that even people like Kirk Kowalski, now I might have it mistaken. I've read some of the read some of the routines, and Kirk Kowalski looked like a bodybuilder.
Mhm.
So, and even Kate Cohen, people, if you see Ed Cohen shirtless in his younger days, he looked like a bodybuilder. And I think that he followed something that probably was more like an upper lower split with, let's say, an extra day in there for other accessory movements, but
Right.
really they were not full blown body part splits. And these people had amazing physiques.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm on board with you. I mean, regular people, I think either full body, push
Well,
pull. Go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say also like the type of either full body or upper lower splits also lends itself to more functional strength and athletic training, which realistically most people want or need. Like the average 30, 40-year-old guy, you know, it's time to start thinking about moving well and fixing your aches and pains and paying attention, doing some proactive strength work. So you want to be a little more athletic, feel more athletic, move more athletically. And that's very hard to do when you're training one or two body parts a day. It's much more efficient to train, again, this ties back to our goals, but it's much more efficient to train full body or upper lower, if that, because you can get more performance benefits, which is a nice side effect, you know?
Yes. Yeah, because I'm not an athlete, but I also follow an upper and lower split. But I do some plyos and I also do some kettlebell swings and other exercise that I've thrown in. For example, also let's say even lateral exercise. Well, I my kinesiology and the planes of movement have eluded my mind a little bit. What plane is it in where you're moving laterally? I forgot what
No,
frontal or
nobody cares. I
sagittal.
don't know.
Yeah,
Sagittal, frontal, like no, I don't know. I
yeah,
don't even know because it's
yeah.
not
Well,
important. It's
right,
detail.
right. Well,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah. But I know
movement
what you
is
mean. I totally know what you mean. Yeah.
whatever movement is to the side, I'm
Right,
doing
right,
more exercise that move to the side.
right, right.
Let's say, for example, Cossack squats or lateral lunges, because I don't
Mhm.
want to move around like a tin man when I'm 70 years old. And I'm also doing box jumps or
Yep.
long jumps or the kettlebell swings, other forms of plyometrics, even upper body plyometrics as well. For example, the plyometric push-ups
Yep.
and even some plyometric things with the TRX where, it's, I learned it from John Rusin, where it's kind of like almost like a plyo bodyweight row where where you can use a TRX and just
Right, right.
pressure thrust yourself forward, do like a slight release and do it again. So
Yep.
there are all kinds of exercises that can keep you athletic, even though you are not an athlete, and that's a concern of mine. Yes, and
Well,
also,
again, it's
yeah,
a health issue. It's a health and performance issue because as we age, agility and power and reactive time, reaction speed, diminishes and falling gets very dangerous.
yes,
We need to train ourselves to respond quickly, to catch ourselves. And plyos and med ball drills, med ball throws. I love medicine ball throws. Those are great ways to work it in. It doesn't take a lot of time. It adds maybe 5 or 10 minutes, not adds, but if you devote 5 or 10 minutes of a workout to some kind of explosive movement, you'll reap benefits like crazy.
yeah, I agree with you because for a plyometric exercise, it only takes 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 5 reps.
Right, which
That's
isn't
pretty
a
much
lot
what
of
you.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And if you did 5 by 5 on that, that's pretty decent volume, and that's you don't need 3 minutes of rest between plyos.
Yeah.
So it could take, like you said, just maybe a short amount of time, 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning of a workout. Well, after you do some of your warm up stuff, let's say mobility drills or some fold rolling. Now, I highly recommend it to middle aged men. I mean, I think that people should be doing that at any age, but what's your opinion on the foam rolling and the mobility drills as we get older?
I like general mobility drills a little better than specific foam rolling. Foam rolling feels good. No doubt, it's a massage. You're massaging yourself, and that always feels nice. Huh.
Yes, yes,
Sorry. Had to do
that's
that.
right. Yes,
Foam rolling is great, but mobility drills are kind of where it's at. It's learning your range of motion, testing your range of motion for a given day, like that, because your mobility might change day to day based on your injury history, based on how you slept. We're at that stage now.
yes,
And again, it doesn't take a lot. I like one or two good mobility movements. I like kind of focusing on the upper back somewhere, like some kind of scapular movement, whether it's like a face pull or like a YTW type of thing, or a Cuban press or whatever, cat camel, whatever. So I like the upper back and the hips. If you have to like go for bang for your buck, something that addresses your hips, whether it's like an airplane, a hip opener, even playing hip circles, like old school. Mobility drills, they're also kind of individual based on what you need. But generally speaking, for most people, something for the upper back, something for the hips, and you should start feeling like better and looser and more live, right?
yeah. Yeah, I myself I prefer the banded pull aparts and the banded face pulls or the whatever you call them. Well, they're not actually dislocations. I guess you call them shoulder dislocations, where you
Right,
go
right.
to and fro with the a stick or a light bar or even the band itself, which I find is
Band
more
work. I like
comfortable.
a band
Yes,
for that. Yeah.
yes, and it feels great before you do a bench press or any pressing to open up your shoulders like that and have the upper back pump before a
Right.
pressing exercise. So, is there now? Let's say some guy he wants to go to the gym. He's not been in the gym for ages. He's starting back up. What do you recommend? Do you recommend any generic routines with names that people think of starting strength? They think of other generic programs that I
Right.
don't
Right.
think is the best for everybody starting off again in their mid 40s. Meaning that, well, I want your take on it, but you and I know that not everybody's designed to deadlift, bench press, and squat, and some people, even just by aging, have gotten not into the shape to bench press, squat, and deadlift. If you know what I'm saying.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's just like competitive bodybuilders focus and do well with training one or two body parts a day. Competitive powerlifters are really the people that should only focus on emphasizing the barbell flat bench press, the barbell back squat, and the conventional deadlift. Right? That big three is overemphasized. for sure. Like it's easy because it's a default setting. Like they're three super common movements, but they're not for everybody. Like a trap bar deadlift is just as effective as a conventional deadlift. A sumo deadlift can be just as effective for some people based on their limb lengths and their, you know, injury history as a conventional deadlift. The barbell back squat is not for everybody based on their shoulder mobility and their torso structure and their leg length. They might do better with a safety bar squat or a front squat or something like that. The barbell flat bench press, based on your shoulder history and your mobility, and it's not for everybody. So there's no reason, if you're not a competitive powerlifter, there's no reason for you to be in love and put these three movements on a pedestal. But they are because gym culture says they should be.
Yes, exactly. Because I go on X often these days. That's kind of YouTube and X are my preferred social media platforms that I like viewing information with and conversing with people. And there is this overemphasis on squat numbers, bench press numbers. You know, this guy's strong because he benched 1.5 body weight. This is the standard you must reach, and you must do these exercises. And I think that a lot of people get into this line of thought where even if they're not competing in powerlifting, that they must do these exercises when there are great variety of exercises that you could do, especially with machines these days, of the hammer strength bench press at all angles. They have a decline one, a flat bench one, well, the upright one that's kind of like called a flat bench, the incline one, the shoulder press. I mean, there are so many exercises that you can do with a variety of machines these days, and dumbbells also, that you do not need these barbell exercises that everybody's crazy over to build a nice physique and have optimal health. I personally do not do deadlifts anymore, nor do I do back squats anymore, because even though I am anatomically designed to do a squat, meaning that even when I first learned to squat, it came very natural because I have short legs and a long torso, but I do not do squats because they make me feel like crap. I don't get injured. Nothing is, my knees are not cracking. There's never been let's say, a joint problem, but they just make me feel like garbage, meaning that I'm feeling like garbage for days on end after doing them. So do you think that that's something that should be taken into account also? Because these exercises like deadlifts and squats, they are exhausting mentally and physically. And if you have to work an 8 or 9 hour day after deadlifting in the morning, I prefer not to do that. I do RDLs though, yes.
Well,
Yes,
that's the thing. It's you shouldn't overemphasize or fall in love or over prioritize specific movements. You should think in terms of movement patterns. Like they say, the
yes,
big six patterns are squats, hinges, lunges, upper body pushing, upper body pulling, and carrying. Sometimes they add rotating as another movement, whatever. So if you think of these six kind of buckets or categories or broad ideas, there's a lot that falls under there. You know, a hinging is one of the movement patterns that covers conventional deadlifts, trap bar deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, kettlebell swings, you know, hip thrusts, which is another overemphasized movement. So like any of these type of movements, and there are plenty other ones, all kind of work basically the same musculature. So you're getting pretty similar, you know, muscle growth benefits and strength benefits. Um, so they're almost interchangeable in a sense, but the right particular movement is going to depend on your specific goal and your body structure and your injury history and what's best for you based on you being you, not just what you should do because in the 70s they started powerlifting and that's it. Like why not
yeah,
focus on the Olympic weightlifts? Like I love power cleans. Power cleans are a great movement for some people, you know, but in general, like I love doing power cleans.
yes.
But you know, if you're gonna over focus on movements from a sport, which is all the big three are, the three movements from powerlifting, why not the two movements from weightlifting?
Exactly,
Knee
yes.
jerk and the snatch.
Yeah, right. But you and
Make
I
an
know.
argument for that. You could make an argument for that.
Exactly, yes. Although it'd be uh, from that standpoint, I agree with you. Although we know that that would fall apart immediately because people who know how to do a snatch and clean
Oh, they'd have
properly.
commitment. They'd be like, "This is so technical. Nobody can
Yes,
teach themselves to snatch." Get fired.
exactly, yes. And I think that for most people, that probably would be just not the best use of their time to see a physical difference in their bodies by the time they
That's
learn how to do this properly.
right.
So,
But as a thought experiment,
oh
like
yeah, no, it's a great thought experiment. When people say, "Well, you can't get as big legs as you do with a conventional standard squat as you can with a lunge or a Bulgarian split squat," I'll ask them, "How? Why not? If you work up to, let's say, your body weight in Bulgarian split squats for 10 reps,
Mhm.
what you're not going to have big legs. You're not going to have big strong legs. So
Well, if the goal is big legs, leg press.
yes, leg
Leg press
press.
beats squat for big legs, period.
Exactly. Yes.
Look at all the bodybuilders with big legs. Most of them have stopped squatting.
Yes.
Almost all of them still leg press. So if
Yes.
we're going to talk leg size, leg press beats squat.
Yeah, exactly. Or hack squat or lunges
Uh-huh.
or
Yeah.
any of those. Even for your hamstrings and glutes, there's hip thrusts, RDLs, back extensions, one-legged back extensions. They even have the machines now. They have well, they have the glute. There's a glute ham raise. They also have the reverse hyperextension. There are all kinds of other things that you can do to develop your posterior chain without busting not busting everybody's bodies,
Say
but
it.
yeah,
Busting your butt.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. But busting your those exercises, what we're trying to say here is that it doesn't wreck everybody's bodies. It wrecks some people's bodies.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Right. So, yes. So now I'm moving on to nutrition here. Is that
Right.
when do you think that people should choose? But, well, there is a choice to make. There's a choice. When I consult people for consult people for nutrition, and also there's information about this for the public to read, is that there's portion control and there's macro counting and calorie counting. Now, macro counting is by default calorie counting. You count macros, you're controlling your calories. Now, when do you think that what situation should someone start counting calories? Because most people, I believe, I know that macro counting is very in vogue, but most people are going to choose not to do that, especially if we go back to the guy with a life or the woman with a life. What do you think of when the situation is called for to actually count macros?
Well, macro counting is a tool. It's a technique. It's a specific technique that you can implement under certain conditions for certain people to reach certain goals, right? Just like exercise techniques, just like train to failure, or drop sets, or whatever. I think the general idea, somebody just getting started who's unfamiliar, has had no particularly structured diet, I think the starting point is just being aware of their eating and, you know, basically focusing on portion control first, but being eating consciously, eating deliberately, I guess would be another way to put it. Because it's counting calories and counting macros and tracking your food in detail. It can be a big ask of some people because it's another thing to do. Like you're already eating the food. You're already deciding what to eat and how much to eat. So that's kind of step one of saying, I'm going to get the medium fry and the quarter pounder, not the large fry and the double quarter pounder. Cool. Good choice. You just cut off a couple of hundred calories. Good work. Okay. But then asking that same person, also, don't forget to go and log into the app because there are plenty of apps that'll do the work essentially for you. But don't forget to go in the app and log in and put in what you had. And it's just another thing for them to do and another stumbling block you're putting up in their way. Like start as simple as possible and get the results going that way. And if you need to dial in more, you still have that in your back pocket. You can still be like, okay, we're not seeing the progress we've wanted to see. So maybe for the next 4 weeks, next 2 weeks, not even next 2 weeks or so, just, snap a picture and log in or whatever. And let's just get an idea of the numbers and then we can play with that. But
Yes.
the starting point, I think, should be eating deliberately, making deliberate, conscious decisions, and just generally focusing on portion sizes and stuff. Right.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm pretty fond of, and obviously you know about this company that John Berardi had. I'm not sure if he is still with them, but Precision Nutrition. I think that anybody could Google that. name that brand and actually find even some useful infographics on portion control. So, using visual cues, like let's say a protein portion would be the size of the palm of your hand, or the vegetable portion would be the fistful, the fat portion would be, let's say, the size of your thumb, and I recall the starch portion would be, let's say, a cup palm. Now, it would look like the equivalent of a cup palm or your palm on your plate. Those are the visual cues. So let's say you do one or two of each and you have your portion control, but that portion control could make a huge difference in someone's body composition if they follow it for weeks on end, if they're going from a horrible diet or just no way of
Right.
structuring at
From
all.
unstructured to any kind of structure is a huge change. Sure.
Yes, plus the proper food choices that you just
Mhm.
knock off some of these hundreds of calories or maybe even 1,000 calories for some people or more just by
Sure.
simply stopping to drink sodas, indiscriminately drinking beers and alcohol, and other, let's say, fat containing foods like salad dressings, avocados, nuts. Even though some of those are healthy, you've seen how people eat fat containing
Sneaky
foods also.
word. That's a sneaky word, healthy. Yeah. Or
Yeah,
fattening is another sneaky word.
yes.
But
Yeah,
yep.
well, it's sneaky actually because fattening really means you're overeating throughout the day. I mean, you're eating
Right.
too many calories.
Right. So no one food is necessarily like fattening.
Exactly, yes. But as you and I know, we want to tell our audience that it's tricky because nuts are, let's say, what we would call healthy. Well, not according to the carnivores, though. Not according to keto guys. Well, keto guys, yes, but carnivores, no.
We don't
Uh,
listen to them.
what do you say?
That's why we don't listen to them. They don't get a
Yeah, yeah,
vote. But okay,
right.
okay.
So we consider those to be good choices, avocados and nuts, but the actual calories can start piling up because they're very calorically dense.
Right. Which
Yes,
is where portion control blip, which is where portion control comes in for sure. Yep.
yes,
When you're dealing with especially fat sources because they're so condensed, so calorie dense.
exactly. Those sneak in a lot of calories through the day, so
Yep.
people should be conscious about that. Now let's go over some before we um, let's say few finishing topics here is that there are a lot of fad diets out there. The keto. Well, I don't consider ketogenic to be, let's say, a fad per se, but we'll call it keto. People get onto it in kind of a faddish way, and most of the people who I know who try to be keto for indefinite amounts of times have all failed. So,
Mm.
carnivore I've seen fail in many people. Even the fad. Did you hear about the I'm calling it a fad. I have no problem with calling it a fad. The sugar diet. What is it? The high.
Something I'm not aware of the details. I've heard it's a thing. What's the basic premise?
I actually should have researched it before I went in this on this conversation, this meeting with you.
I
I
have heard
think
it's a thing. Yes,
yes,
something, yeah, the sugar diet, the high sugar diet, which
yes, and one
totally
of
gets
the
what it was. Yeah.
yes, and one of the promoters of it, a very big enthusiast of it, is Mark Bell.
Mhm.
And from I've only seen his content on it, and one other guy briefly, I forgot his name, but Mark Bell. I do follow Mark Bell on social media, so he was documenting his intake of the sugar diet, and I think look, anybody who gets me wrong on this, I can be wrong because I don't know the details. I should have looked it up before. That you eat sugar for a allotted time frame of, let's say, most of the day, and then in the evening you have a small amount of protein and carbs. I'm going to have to look it up after, but there were plenty of videos and pictures of him eating candy all day. So, you know, uh, gummy
Well,
snacks.
is this in accordance? Because didn't he get into marathoning? Isn't he an endurance athlete now? So maybe it ties in. I'm told. I'm again. I'm not aware of the details. That's the only possible reasoning I could think is if you're doing a lot of long distance cardio, maybe you can justify it. But I'm very intrigued. And
I
so,
actually am intrigued now that I'm speaking about it also. The intrigue is turning on again. I'm not going to try it, but I would like to learn about it. But he did make significant body changes while he was on that diet. He didn't gain fat. He got further ripped.
okay, yeah,
So I don't. I do not recommend any faddish kinds of diets to people who want to get in shape ever. I actually steer people away from it. I think that they can be sustainable, but I believe only a certain personality type can sustain them. What do you
right.
think?
I think, well, again, it ties back to what we said in the beginning. It's consistency. You need something you can do the majority of the year. You can have short-term specialization phases. I'm all in favor of that. Do you want to go keto for 6 weeks, leading up to summer break? try it. Go for it. You want to go carnivore for a month just to have steak and eggs for breakfast, go for it. And then you'll probably, like most people, peter out after a while because you'll get tired of it.
Yes,
You
because
know,
some people would argue that, well, the reason why the person is failing at it is because they don't have the willpower to keep it.
oh
But
fuck
yeah, you
no.
see, that's the issue though, is that I personally believe that I could be on carnivore, me personally, can actually do it, but it's going to fall apart because I don't live by myself. So I'm not,
Oh, yeah.
yes, exactly. And I also do not, I personally choose not to do carnivore because when I'm somewhere, I don't want to be bogged down with finding only protein items that are suitable for the carnivore. Meaning, if I'm, let's say, going to an event for Halloween or I'm going to my in laws for a Sunday dinner, I do not want to make a request and say to my in law, so and so, can you please have steak available? I need to eat steak. We must start making, you must either you purchase it or I purchase it myself and start grilling it in the backyard when
Mhm.
everybody else is having fun inside. So I don't see this conducive to my lifestyle. But
Yeah.
I personally, if I lived alone, I could do just about any diet. Me personally.
Of course, because that's the luxury. But again, that ties, like we said in the beginning again, it's lifestyle. Your lifestyle does not accommodate, you know, that kind of drastic decision.
Yes.
If you lived alone, I know people, young people in his 30s. I'm thinking of lives alone. Literally all he does is work, go to the gym, hop on Tinder. Okay, like he has that luxury. That's his lifestyle. It's set up to accommodate 6 days of training for 2 hours a day, and go to work and go home. Like
Yes.
there's no family, there's no spouse, there's no outside of work stress. Like, yes, that's a huge factor. That will influence everything. Yeah.
Yes. And the final topic that I want to touch upon is TRT. Now, we are not doctors. Uh, we are not pharmacists. We are not urologists. We are not endocrinologists. But the TRT thing is a big topic of conversation. And what I see is that TRT, like you've probably seen in some of my postings, is that I've called it cyborg TRT versus real TRT. There's this TRT where yes, the person is hypogonadal. Their testosterone level is below 300 nanograms per deciliter. Now, I know people are going to say, "Who are you to say that that's the normal range?" Uh, uh, how do you know that the real normal range is not 400? Our ancestors had a range of a gorillion nanograms per deciliter, and we're just going by a faulty range. I'm sure you've heard all those things. Okay, now, what I do know is that no, you don't have to be literally under 300 nanograms per deciliter to feel symptoms of hypogonadism. I'm not silly enough to say, oh, your level is 350, but you're suffering from all these symptoms. Hey, you're normal. No, there's clearly something going wrong here. If you're really that low normal, you're probably likely hypogonadal and probably have uh, insufficient amounts of FSH and LH. There's something going wrong here. If you have the symptoms and you're at that kind of, let's say, nearing a lower level. But however, what we've seen these days is that people want to be at this optimal number of TRT. And even people saying, hey guys, I'm on TRT. Plus, I'm also on Decadurabolin. I'm also on Winstrol. I'm also on X, Y, and Z. And they still have the nerve, well, not nerve, but the
Chutzpah.
goofiness to still say that they're on TRT. Well, that's great. You're on 300 milligrams of drugs per week. Thanks. That's TRT. Yes. So you've seen this going on, right?
Yeah, it's unfortunately, yes. It's a misapplication of a useful medication, because TRT is medication to treat a diagnosed malady, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, some people will either abuse the medication, just like they do with other prescription meds, right? That's not uncommon,
Yes.
with opioids or whatever. People
Yes.
misuse and abuse prescription medication. This one happens to be testosterone, right? Whether it's taking more than they should to get benefits, or whether it's gaming the system and essentially tricking doctors to get a script, which people will, like you see online all the time, not all the time. It's how to tank your test before blood work to
Yeah.
get your script.
Yeah. Right. But what's ridiculous about that is that by taking that, and if you're eugonadal, like meaning if you have normal testosterone levels, and you make yourself hypogonadal and take TRT while you're hypogonadal now, you're going to wind up in the same range that you did beforehand. What would be the point of making yourself hypogonadal to get into the normal range again? So you went from normal to normal. So people say they'll
But
say
now you got the drug. You've got you convinced a doctor to sell you testosterone or to write a script
yes,
for testosterone.
and
That was
yeah,
the end goal.
which is basically inducing a medical condition so you can take medication to be at the same range you were before. And then people actually think that when someone takes TRT, they have all. They actually also believe that if you take TRT and you're in the normal range, you have all these benefits compared to the eugonadal guy. Meaning, if you're at 800 nanograms per deciliter while taking TRT, you still have a benefit compared to the guy who's measuring in a normal range also, simply because you're taking the medication. There are all these beliefs about TRT and this fascination with TRT. Uh,
It's a fascination, and I think it's also kind of an overemphasis on the blood work numbers and an underemphasis of how you feel.
yes, exactly.
Real life, do you have symptoms? You don't have symptoms. Did TRT alleviate the symptoms? Did it exacerbate some? Did it start new stuff? Right? So it doesn't matter necessarily if you're, and we've seen this back on T Nation, Testosterone Nation. We had a whole section just about T replacement, and plenty of guys were posting that, my blood work came back. I'm at 600, but I really want to get up to 1200.
Yeah,
And so what should I do? But fucking why?
yeah,
Like, there's
exactly. Yes.
there's no reason to just for the sake of it. You're like you said, you're not necessarily going to feel better or perform better in the gym or bedroom,
Yes.
right? Just by raising your numbers, by over focusing on the numbers versus how you feel and what's happening in real life.
Right. Also, and what we've discussed also previously, including on T Nation, is that the belief that by tinkering with numbers within the normal range, that the body reacts so sensitively to these uh, uh, minor changes within the normal range. Meaning, if you're 800, if you're 800 nanograms, you'll feel better than when you are at 600 nanograms, and at 600, you'll feel better than 400. So the body is not designed to be this sensitive to
Better not
fluctuation.
be. It better not be that sensitive. Because then imagine if your entire body system was that delicate.
Yes.
I weigh 205 pounds, but now I weigh 200 pounds and I feel so much better. I look so much better. No, not really. I have
Yes.
it. I have my temperature is 98.8 and now it's 99. Like,
Yes. The body,
that's how the body works.
it's
Yes.
not how it reacts. And also, you'll see a lot of guys, for example, that are over 40 years old, they'll post these pictures and say, I did all this to my body. No supplements, no protein powder, and no TRT. Well, that's not really a brag per se. It's like saying, I did this without thyroid. I did this without insulin.
Yeah.
I did this without any other medication that is taken for a medical condition. Meaning that, well, that's not really an advantage because you don't have the condition. So you're basically saying you were an otherwise healthy male and you did this. Well, I mean, those are the results you should see. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Supposed to happen. That's supposed to happen. Yeah.
exactly, regardless of whether you had a medical condition being treated with a medication or not. So it's not really a brag that someone, uh, it's not really a brag to not have a medical condition.
Well, no, but I think those are the same guys. If we do the Venn diagram, the guys that say, "Oh, no TRT, I still got in shape," and the guys that say TRT is cheating, it's a circle. It's the same guys because TRT is not cheating
Yes,
any
exactly.
more than Cytomel would be cheating for a thyroid medication.
Yeah, exactly. That's
You're not cheating anything. In among us average people, we're not talking athletes. That's a whole other can of worms.
yes.
But regular people can't cheat anything. That's not a thing.
Well, yeah, I agree with you because I've also thought about that. Also, when people say that's cheating, I'll ask myself, cheating at what? What do you mean? Cheating? What? I
Your
don't.
life. No,
Exactly. Yes.
no.
Yeah. Well, I think that covers it all for the basics of fitness for men and considerations of TRT as well. Just to sum it up, it really is the willpower, the knowledge and implementation. And I'm always going to think that the implementation is going to be the hardest thing for men, anybody, not just men, to to get over and really stick to. And it's been a great conversation with you.
No, I appreciate it. I think we got a lot of good info out there. So good talk. Thanks.
All right, great. Have a good night.